It's Thursday, September 10th, 2020. I'm Greg Nibbler, and this is Digital Trends Live. All right, hello everyone. Yes, indeed, I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Digital Trends Live, and thanks for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more. So whatever platform you're on, join the discussion. Let's get you started off with some news, though. Portland, Oregon has just passed one of the strictest facial recognition bans in the United States by making it unlawful for both public and private use. Other cities in the U.S. have already prohibited the use of facial recognition software by government agencies, such as San Francisco, Oakland, and Boston, but none have gone as far as to ban private use of the software until now. Facial recognition software is known to have a number of issues associated with it when it comes to accurately identifying people, particularly when it comes to people of color. Multiple studies have shown how inaccurate it can be, in part because it's been trained on mostly white faces. That's reflected in the wording of the new law, which in part states Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities have been subject to over-surveillance and disparate and detrimental impact of the misuse of surveillance. The ban will work in two parts, with law enforcement being immediately barred from using the technology in the city. The second will happen at the start of next year and will preclude any private businesses from using facial recognition technology, such as stores, banks, Airbnbs, etc. The businesses could face $1,000 fines for violating the ordinance and open themselves up to being sued. Companies like IBM and Microsoft have already ceased operations with facial recognition software until issues can be resolved. However, Amazon allegedly spent $24,000 lobbying against the ban in Portland. You can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. So remember how TikTok was supposed to already have been sold? Well, it hasn't yet, and now there are apparently negotiations with the U.S. government to possibly avert a full sale. ByteDance, the parent company, is facing a ban on TikTok in the U.S. on September 20th and a deadline of November 12th to complete a sale of the social media platform to an American company per a pair of executive orders issued by President Trump. This all stems from security concerns that since ByteDance is a China-based company, executive orders will part of the reason is that, well, part of the concern is that the data will be sent back to the Chinese government. A number of U.S. companies have expressed interest in TikTok since they claim to have 100 million monthly users, and that data is in fact very valuable. Microsoft was considered the front runner and announced it had a partnership with Walmart to purchase the social media platform. Then Oracle said it had a bid in, along with rumors of Amazon, Apple, Twitter, and even Netflix inquiring about buying it. The current negotiations center around a Chinese governmental order that's meant to hinder the sale, which restricts ByteDance from exporting artificial intelligence technology, which is basically the TikTok algorithms. Because of that, ByteDance investors and the CIA have been having negotiations to perhaps make the sale only a minority stake in the company, allowing ByteDance to retain majority control. There's a lot of negotiating going on, but with just over a week to go, the deadline of September 20th is coming up quick, and there are millions upon millions of TikTok users who could be instantly affected if it does get banned. Follow along with that at digitaltrends.com. All right, Walmart wants to start delivering your packages via drone and has just launched a test program for it. Walmart has partnered with a company called Flytrex to launch their test delivery program in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Residents there can test it out by requesting a drone delivery to their house. The drones themselves can fly to 230 feet in the air and travel at speeds of up to 32 miles per hour. They can carry packages weighing up to 6.6 pounds, which are then lowered down from 80 feet in the air to be placed gently on the ground. Customers will be able to order groceries and household items via the service. Now, this comes on the heels of Amazon recently receiving official FAA approval to test their own Prime Air drone deliveries, while Google has also had a program in place for a while with its offshoot called Wing. UPS is also in the drone delivery arena, using theirs to complete medical deliveries at certain hospital campuses. The test program from Walmart will be limited to Fayetteville for now, but with all of these companies working hard to take these programs nationally, it's only a matter of time before we have drones all over our skies bringing packages directly to your house. Read more about it at digitaltrends.com. Facebook has decided to return to their roots by launching a new product aimed at college students called Campus. The new platform is designed to be a closed-off section of the main Facebook app that only allows students to interact with other students from the same school or university. The users would then have access to things like campus chat, groups, events, and news feeds that relate directly to their school. Students who want to use this service have to use their .edu email address to apply, after which they can provide such information as dorm rooms, majors, which classes they are taking, and more in order to find other people with the same interests or scholastic endeavors. Facebook, of course, started off as a social media platform for college students, launching at Harvard before growing into the behemoth that it is now. For now, Campus will be testing at 30 different universities in the United States, including Virginia Tech, Johns Hopkins, and Northwestern, but not Harvard. You can read more about the new service at digitaltrends.com. We'd like to keep you up to date on everything that is going on in the world of technology, and that includes the world of gaming here at Digital Trends. And to do so, we, of course, are joined by Lisa Marie Segarra, our gaming editor, to talk about all the different things that have been going on this week. And I know there's a lot happening with the console wars, particularly with Xbox.
Yeah, we got some major news. It seems like we've been getting a flurry of news recently, but this time it's from Xbox, which has really been leading the pack in terms of actually telling us things. They finally gave us two things. One, the price, and also they finally confirmed this Project Lockhart, which people have been speculating about for months now as this digital-only version. And finally, it's here. It's super small, and it is $300, which is kind of crazy. So that's the Series S. The Series X is $500. They're both coming out on November 10th. And so the differences are pretty simple. The Series S is a lot smaller. You know, they were touting it as the smallest Xbox ever. I think it looks super cute. I think it's really nice, especially if you don't have a lot of space, but that's just me. But down to like the nitty gritty of like what the actual differences are, it has a very similar CPU, but not so much on the GPU side, and the memory and stuff is less. So what that actually means is that it does a lot of the same stuff, but it doesn't really have things like 4K. So the Series X is supposed to run 4K at 60 frames per second, supposed to. The Series S is only supposed to get up to like 1440, but also at 60 frames per second, again, supposed to. So I think it's a really good option. It's really interesting, you know. We already saw that the PlayStation is also getting a diskless version, but based on the size and what they've not really said, but what people are speculating, seems like there will probably be fewer differences. So I'm expecting that we'll see some, you know, 4K capability there as well, and probably less of a price difference than the Xbox's $200 price difference. But, you know, pre-orders are coming soon on the 22nd, which, how is it September? And we're already looking toward the 22nd in consoles. But you know, it's really exciting. They also announced the Xbox All Access Pass. So they have been doing some kind of subscription services, or not really subscriptions, but installment services with the last Xbox, just not at launch. So basically for the Series X, for, you know, 2 years, you would pay $35. For the Series S, also 2 years, you pay $25 a month. You should note that that comes out to $600 in total and $840 in total for the Series S and X respectively. So you're definitely paying interest there. But you are also going to get Game Pass Ultimate, which now also comes with EA Play. Yep, they just keep adding on information. So, you know, if you break it down that way, it's not quite as big of a difference, but that is something to consider.
Yeah, when you talk about that with the Ultimate Pass and the all access deals that you get with that, I mean, does it really work out to be a good deal in the long run?
I mean, I think it's still technically better to just get it all at once, but that's just not realistic for a lot of people. And, you know, the idea of just, you know, paying even $300 up front isn't feasible, especially when a lot of people are out of work. But, you know, people still want to enjoy their lives and have fun. So, you know, I think that it really is up to the person. You know, is this feasible? Does this make sense for them? Or is it worth it, you know, to have that time and spread out and make it more realistic? You know, we can crunch the numbers all we want, but if it's hard to pay the $300, it's hard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that makes sense. You know, maybe that the $25 or $25 a month for for the S is better off that way. One other thing with this, because obviously Xbox has been pretty forthright with information. PlayStation not as forthright. Do you anticipate anything as far as when we're going to get a price on the PS5 or even a release date? Does this kind of give Microsoft the lead in this?
It's really funny. I think we'll get some information soon. A lot of people thought that we would get something yesterday. It was also the 25th anniversary of the original PlayStation. That did not happen. So I think we might get it soon, but it's really hard to say. I think that time is also running out for them to, actually give their pre-order and launch information. The fact that they started opening up their invitations to pre-order, but not actual pre-order from them specifically means that, they are working toward it. But it's really interesting, because I've spoken to a lot of people and they are still very much on PlayStation camp. And, they're betting on better exclusives. And, when I think about what the Xbox has to offer with Game Pass and all of that, I'm like, I don't know. It just kind of seems like the better deal right now. We also don't know when we're going to get some of those exclusives. So, it's really funny because it seems like Xbox has so much catching up that they're still not winning. So it's really hard to say, I think, at this point. I think that this is a really close race still. And, even though Sony's been really quiet, I still wouldn't count them out.
It is crazy that September 22nd is already almost here for that, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months with it. And you mentioned exclusives. I know something else that's happening today too is Ubisoft is having an event. What are they going to be showcasing?
Yeah, they're having their next Ubisoft Forward. They had one back in July. So they're definitely going to be talking about Valhalla, which was delayed. It's a really small delay. It just puts it basically closer to the Xbox launch date, actually. But, we are expecting some more information on things like Watch Dogs Legion, even Hyperscape, which is their new battle royale. And they've also got some newer IP. They've got Phoenix Rising, Gods and Monsters. So even though those aren't the big names like Assassin's Creed or even Watch Dogs, I think that we can still expect that to come out. They also have some very campy, and I mean that in the best way possible, options like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is apparently being re-released. It's this 80s throwback, very Street Fighter-esque type game. So that's really interesting. I think it totally fits with that whole world of Scott Pilgrim and old school gaming and all of that. And I think it's really exciting. The director has been, teasing this out, Edgar Wright. I'm really thrilled. I know a lot of people love this game. It's one of those classics at this point. So I think, people will at the very least be really excited about it, and I think that it's one of those gamers movies where it really celebrates the culture. So very, very fun to see. And it's also, I gotta say, nice when things aren't always about the AAA titles and they're also about just really fun stuff. So yeah, we've also got a possible Splinter Cell announcement, although it's 2020 and I bet on nothing at this point.
That's a safe bet. So possibly Splinter Cell.
Yeah, there are a lot of possibilities. I think that the biggest things, though, are definitely, Valhalla and things like that, especially with that coming out in just a couple months. It's tough, though, because they've definitely gotten a lot of flack. When their July one was happening, they had, sexual assault allegations with their leadership, people stepping down. They didn't address it. Now they've also had criticisms for their latest game as well and, how they're treating with BLM symbols and things like that. So really interesting if they actually say something this time.
Well, definitely a lot to follow along with, not only with the console wars, but with Ubisoft. And like you said, it is the 25th anniversary, I think, yesterday of PlayStation, which that's crazy in its own right. But all of this news and all the stuff that's going to be talked about today is going to be there at Digital Trends because Lisa Marie keeps us up to date with all of that. And as always, thanks for being here. It's so fun to talk to you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Lisa Marie Segarra, our gaming editor, and like I said, all the information about everything that we just talked about, which is a lot, is there at Digital Trends and so much more, so you can follow along with everything. Coming up here in just a few, we've got Rick Marshall for another edition of Real News. But before that, we've got our own Riley Wynn talking about that Epic versus Apple battle that is still going on. And he's going to kind of sum up some of the information that you need to know if you want to get caught up on that. So that's coming up next. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Have you seen those iPhones with Fortnite installed on them selling for $9,000 on eBay? Yeah, that's a real thing. This outrageous price is a result of the beef between Apple and Epic Games. See, they've been fighting for a while now, and things have gotten messy and kind of hard to follow. So I'm here to help you. I'm Riley Wynn with Digital Trends, and here's a look at the battle royale between Apple and Epic Games. So how did we get here? How do Epic and Apple, two of the most successful companies in the world, find their way into a heated battle of lawsuits, bans, and perhaps more importantly, a willingness to lock out millions of people from enjoying their products? It may not be that contentious yet. The crux of the matter is Apple's App Store commission policies. And to understand Epic's beef with the Cupertino giants, we have to start there. Apple's App Store is the only way to legally install apps on iOS devices. And since they're the gatekeepers, they make the rules. The big rule in question is the 30% cut of app revenue all developers must give to Apple. For years, developers have had to pay this fee and mutter under their breath how unfair it was, especially since there were rumblings of other big tech companies getting a discount in exchange for equal treatment. But the dissent over this commission started to grow. Tim Sweeney of Epic Games accused Apple, and Google for that matter, of unfair business practices and claimed that the 30% cut gave Apple and Google more of a profit from app sales than the developers themselves. He added that while he was a huge fan of Apple, they were blocking competition and choice with their devices and holding up technological progress. Wait, did he just say blocking competition?
To make it big, you've got to play the game. I'm Monopoly Game.
Yep, this leads to the very topic of Apple's monopoly on its App Store being brought up at the House Judiciary Committee hearing on big tech and antitrust in July. Tim Cook was called to testify, and he said this.
We had fierce competition at the developer side and the customer side. The gate to the App Store is very wide. We have 1.7 million apps in it. It's become an economic miracle.
Of course, that hearing also featured congressmen complaining about lost emails.
What assurances can you give me that any bias amongst your employees isn't influencing your spam folder algorithms?
So the public probably didn't get a real look at the possible monopoly Apple has on its App Store. But this was just the beginning of the tech battle royale. On August 13th, Epic added a new feature to Fortnite that allowed users to make in-app purchases directly from Epic at a discount, directly bypassing Apple and Google. Within hours, Apple removed Epic from the App Store, and almost immediately, Epic released a parody of the famous 1984 ad Apple made to promote the new Macintosh back in 1981. Seriously, how did Epic have the parody ready so fast? Well, one could speculate that they knew there would be some backlash. Regardless, Fortnite users can't download the Battle Royale game on iOS devices anymore. though the game is still playable but without access to any new content. This hilariously led to people hawking their iPhones with Fortnite still installed on them on eBay. On a side note, if you're one of those people who bought an iPhone 7 with Fortnite for $9,000, please DM me because I need to borrow some money and you sound like the person who likes not having it.
Fun coupons! See that?
Epic continued its attempts to rally the public to its side as it updated consumers on its behind-the-scenes legal battles with Apple. Apple threatened to cut off Epic's developer account if it didn't comply, and sure enough, it did. Epic appealed this decision and in a virtual courtroom received a temporary restraining order on Apple, preventing the company from taking away Epic's developer account and access to Apple's dev tools. Fortnite is still removed from the App Store, but for now, Epic can still make iOS apps and provide its Unreal Engine to other apps. And how did Apple respond? You guessed it, with a lawsuit of its own. The tech giant's countersuit claims Epic's actions have caused reputational harm and loss of goodwill with consumers who rely on Apple. Apple accused Epic of purposely skirting the contractual agreement it has with the App Store, and that if Epic is left unchecked, their conduct will threaten the very existence of the iOS ecosystem and its tremendous value to consumers. Yikes. So where does that leave us? Well, for starters, there's a very good chance if you play Fortnite, you have access to a PC or gaming console, so you can still play in other ways. And yes, while the love for Apple is starting to rot, the company is still charging 30% commissions on its App Store. Maybe the goal is just to get Apple to budge and knock down that price to 20%. This is a battle that will continue for a while, so buckle up everyone. The ride on the battle bus will be a bumpy one.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibler. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We like to keep you up to date on everything, and everybody wants to know what is going on in the world of entertainment. And right on time, we've got our own Rick Marshall here to join us to talk about this and tell us what's happening. Rick, it is always good to see you. Where do we want to start off this week?
Well, back to theaters. Tenet debuted last week, and so it was a big test for whether or not movie theaters are coming back. It did okay. I guess that's sort of the what everyone's sort of saying about its box office performances. It was just okay. It would normally be terrible for a Christopher Nolan movie, but given everything going on, it earned $150 million worldwide, but just $20 million in the US. That would be considered a huge flop for Christopher Nolan if it wasn't for the state of everything going on right now. So it needs about 450 million worldwide probably to break even, and usually breaking even isn't a big deal for his films. So it's not really a great signal that movie theaters are, rushing back, but it's encouraging.
So, I mean, do you think it's because of this particular movie, or, that people just weren't that excited about it, or is it because of theaters not being open?
Well, reviews have been mixed for the film, so probably that word of mouth buzz might have, pushed a few people off the fence who were deciding whether or not to, take the risk of seeing it in indoor theater, because there are, as we've discussed in the past, some really big risks to going to indoor theaters these days. So that might have pushed some people towards not going. It's interesting because they're actually considering now maybe moving some of the other movies, around that are coming up after Tenet. So this is probably going to to be something that a lot of studios are following and going to be making decisions based on. But Tenet's likely to have a very long run in the theaters because there isn't a whole lot else out there. So it's really such a unique situation.
That is true. It could be in there for years. But so there we go. So Tenet kind of coming out in theaters. Something else big this week, and I was excited about this. The new Dune trailer showed up.
Yes, I was super excited. This is probably the movie that I was most looking forward to this year. I don't know if it's going to actually come out this year now. I mean, given, how Tenet is doing, a lot of things are, so a lot of dominoes still are going to fall on this. It looks amazing. It looks absolutely fantastic. It's Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of the Frank Herbert's sci-fi novel. It's a masterpiece. It's considered one of the greatest sci-fi stories ever written. So this comes with some pretty high, high anticipation, some big expectations here, and it's got an amazing ensemble cast. For me, Villeneuve is, batting 1,000. Like, everything he does is amazing. So the fact that he's doing Dune now is big for me because I love that book. And I think that's going to be big for a lot of people. It remains to be seen, though, how people react to this trailer. It's gone over well, but there have been a lot of questions because Dune is a pretty deep, complicated story.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think for probably purists that's going to be they're going to be pretty critical, but I think it looks amazing. I'm definitely looking forward to that. So Dune with that trailer, and that's, like you said, who knows if it'll ever be in theaters, whenever that will happen, but still really cool to see a trailer for it. And then going from there, I know there is some stuff that we can stream here now or coming up this weekend.
Yes, there's a couple of things that are out there on Netflix as well as something on HBO. First off, Coastal Elites is coming to HBO and HBO Max. It is a sort of very unique kind of film. It was directed by Jay Roach, who did the recent movie Bombshell, as well as the Meet the Parents and the Austin Powers films. It's considered a socially distanced satire. It basically follows a bunch of people, familiar faces, as they sort of describe their experiences during quarantine, during the lockdown. And it was all filmed during the lockdown, so it's everyone sort of contributing their part to it. A lot of familiar faces here: Issa Rae, Sarah Paulson, Bette Midler, Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek. A lot of really, really familiar faces, especially in comedy, doing their thing here, kind of playing these characters experiencing lockdown.
Interesting. Well, I mean, if Daniel Levy's involved, I'm definitely already on board. So yeah, I will check that out. Coastal Elites, and that's on HBO. And then you said that there's a new one on Netflix as well.
Yes. Yes, Coastal Elites hits HBO September 12th, and as well on Netflix, two things coming out September 16th this weekend here. Sing On. It's a new competition show on Netflix. It's interesting. It's a new sort of spin on them. It's a karaoke competition. It reminds me a lot of those video games, that you play that have you do all the instruments as well as the singing, because it's entirely computer judged. An AI computer will judge each of the contestants as to how well they match the songs that they're singing, and then one contestant will be eliminated each episode, and the pot just keeps growing with each episode. Amazingly, Titus Burgess, who was a lot of people will know from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. He's the host of the show, which is appealing on its own. He's fantastic. So that debuts September 16th. And then one more thing, The Devil All the Time. It's a new Netflix original movie that also debuts September 16th. It's a drama. It's got an amazing cast. It's funny, like it's a movie that looks very dark. It sort of follows, a bunch of people around this town in Ohio, where all their paths kind of intersect. Tom Holland is the star of it, and it's hard to explain. You really kind of have to watch the trailer, but it sort of follows all of these characters, including a preacher, a photographer, a sheriff. Sebastian Stan plays the sheriff. Robert Pattinson plays the preacher. It looks like a very dark thriller. Not sure what to think about it, but all of the cast looks amazing.
Yeah, I think with the cast and the way that it's filmed, it has, I don't know, kind of like a Stephen King-ish vibe to me when I'm looking at this trailer. But whatever it is, whatever it's about, that's definitely something that I'll watch. I mean, the cast alone is great. So The Devil All the Time. And when does that come out?
September 16th. And yeah, I think you're exactly right about that sort of Stephen King vibe. That's where I don't think it has like supernatural horror elements. It has that really sort of dark thriller, psychological thriller vibe going on, following all of these different characters and how they intersect in terrible, terrible ways from the looks of things. I'm going to be checking it out mainly based on this amazing cast.
Nice. Well, as always, so much to think about and so much to watch because Rick keeps us up to date with everything going on in the world of entertainment. You can read all about these two at digitaltrends.com. Rick, as always, great talking to you.
Always good to talk with you.
Rick Marshall right here on Digital Trends Live. He always, like I said, keeps us up to date on everything. So take that list that he just gave us, and there's something you can watch this weekend. I want to thank everybody for joining us here for this edition of Digital Trends Live. Coming up tomorrow, we've got Ciara Pressler, another edition of Work Life, and we'll have some amazing guests, and of course, all the tech news that you need to get throughout the day. But you can always follow along at digitaltrends.com for everything that we talked about and for whatever else comes out breaking this day. Who knows what could be announced? TikTok could be sold. I mean, maybe PlayStation announces something. Follow along at Digital Trends for all of that news. I'm Greg Nibbler. I'll see you right back here tomorrow for another edition of Digital Trends Live.